Hello there, and welcome once again to The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and this week's issue is a little bit different than what we've done before.
Well, it is. We try to be an eclectic show and to do shows about a number of different topics, but folks, this is not about sports. This is not about politics. This is about wealth. It's about making your business more valuable. We're really pleased that Ann Gibson would drive from Tulsa down here to Oklahoma City to tape our show. She's with the outstanding firm of Hogan Taylor. They have offices in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Fayetteville. And we're proud to say they're a new sponsor, and we welcome them. They join an elite group. At least we think it's an elite group. Ann's here to talk to us today about business valuations and how business owners can take actions to make their business more valuable.
That's right. How do you determine the value and how can you increase the value? It's all coming up today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
Well, prices at the pump are hitting new highs this week. In other news,
gasoline is expected to top $4 a gallon this week.
expect drivers seeing sticker shock at the pump.
OPEC has raised the price of oil again, and Wall Street worries.
Well, a full tank of gas is going to set drivers back.
Straight ahead, the latest news on
If you need big accounting firm expertise but aren't happy with the value or level of partner engagement from your current national firm, contact Hogan Taylor. Hogan Taylor provides national-level public accounting expertise with high-touch, local partner service in all areas of tax, audit, business valuation, and litigation support. Contact us at hogantaylor.com/The Verdict. Hogan Taylor, big enough to know, small enough to care.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we're really pleased to have joining us from the Tulsa office of Hogan Taylor, Ann Gibson. Ann is the partner in charge of the business valuation and litigation support unit for Hogan Taylor. She did her undergraduate work at the University of Oklahoma, obtaining a degree in accounting. She has been with Hogan & Taylor since 1989. However, prior to that time, she practiced accounting with Arthur Anderson in Tulsa. She has 30 years of accounting practice experience. She has 15 years of business valuation and litigation support experience. Her practice is quite varied, and I think she's got some really interesting things to talk to us about today. This is her first visit to The Verdict. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
The accounting business has changed somewhat. For those that don't keep up with it, your product offerings have expanded from what they might have been 20 or 30 years ago. Tell us about the changes in the industry.
Well, we do have more niche offerings as far as we're able to help clients in a variety of financial areas. Used to be, it was mainly bookkeeping, tax, and audit, and now we offer a larger variety. We have as a matter of fact, I was going to tell you a little bit about what we do at Hogan Taylor and some of the areas that we practice in besides the normal ones. We have a SALT practice, state and local income tax practice. We do mostly in that area sales tax refunds and rebates, helping companies get money back when they've overpaid their sales tax. We have about a 10-person department.
Nothing wrong with overpaying your sales tax, by the way. In fact, I encourage all companies to do that. But go ahead.
Particularly in Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. But I shouldn't have interjected.
No, that's good. I'm glad to have that point of view. Our clients don't feel that way.
Yeah, amazingly.
We also do investment management. We have over $100 million under management right now in a separate firm connected to Hogan Taylor. So we do that. And then, of course, this business valuation, litigation support department that I'm involved with. We do everything from family law litigation to commercial damage type work. We also do, and that's also where we do a lot of our business valuation work. So
Well,
again,
Go ahead.
just many new areas. It seems like in any place where financial analysis is helpful, we can be of service.
Well, I've just got a dozen questions to ask you, but let me step back and ask you one that I want our viewers to learn a little bit more about, not just me. Tell us about Hogan Taylor. Tell us about your offices, where you are, who you are, how you're divided, how that works.
Okay, I'm happy to. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud of our history. I've been there 23 years, as you mentioned, and the firm this year will be over 31 years old. We merged 3.5 years ago, two large local firms, Hogan and Slovacek and Tullius Taylor Sartain, merged 3.5 years ago to form Hogan Taylor. As you mentioned, we have offices in Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Fayetteville, Arkansas. We have right now about 175 employees. And again, we offer a large suite of services, including tax compliance, tax consulting, audit, or we call it assurance services. And then, as I said, we have a SALT practice, our disciplined investment practice, which is investment management, and our business valuation area. We also, just as
No,
a
go
side,
ahead.
we were just nominated and were selected as the second best place to work in Oklahoma in the small to medium size
Wow.
business category. So we're very
Wow.
proud of that.
Now,
Well, congratulations.
What was the main ingredient in that decision?
I'm not really sure what, it's Oklahoma Magazine, I believe, is the person that sponsored that runoff.
Well,
and I think it has to
congratulations
do
on
with
that.
fun, providing a fun and environment for people to work in,
Sure.
maybe ways of how do you treat your employees. Hopefully, it sounds like everybody was happy.
Yeah. Okay, personal question here. It seems like I never quite get my taxes done on April 15th, and so my accountant has to ask for an extension, and I eventually get them in, I assure you.
Yes.
But am I unusual? Do most people get it done by April 15th?
No, and as a matter of fact, we love people that file extensions because as over a period of time, our
Then we
filing
we can feel loved.
Yes, you can. Our filing season has been reduced down to such a small period of time that it's hard to get that kind of work done in a 6 to 8 week period, which basically is what we have now.
Yeah.
And so we love people that file extensions.
Well, I get my stuff in on time, but if my accountant only had me as a client, if I was the only one, I guess I'd get it done. But at that point, they're
Right.
backlogged, and it requires an
Exactly.
extension. Okay, then I don't feel so
No.
inferior.
I tell people I don't ever file my return until the last minute, October 15th. And I tell people the IRS would start to wonder if I filed on time, what was wrong.
Let me ask a question about
You get
business,
audited.
Yeah.
business valuation. Why should a business owner know exactly how much their business is worth if they don't intend to sell it?
There are a lot of reasons why we deal with clients who want to have their business valued. Estate planning is one of the reasons. We do a lot of valuations for wealth transfer, making gifts to family members. Maybe they want to sell it on an installment basis to someone inside the business over a period of time, or to their children. So we do a lot of business. Someone dies, we have to be able to value their business for the death tax return. We also, divorce is probably one of our bigger areas where we have to establish the value of a business for marital dissolution.
Okay, and it's one thing to know what a business is worth, but you also offer services to instruct businesses how they might increase the value of their business.
We can.
How do you go about that?
Well, we have. Maybe I should start by laying a little bit of a foundation as to what the drivers are for value.
Perfect. What is it?
Primarily, there are two elements. There's cash flow, and there is risk. And those two elements are what really drive value. As an investor, and I'm looking at your business, I'm not really buying the underlying assets, the equipment, the workforce, any kind of other tangible property. What I'm buying is a stream of cash flows, because I want eventually a return on my investment.
And an expectation they'll continue.
That's correct. So
that's where risk comes in.
That's exactly right, yes. So it's the measuring of those future cash flows and creating what's the expectation of those future cash flows, considering the risks involved in generating those cash flows. So that's sort of the fundamentals of how the valuation process works. And there are a number of factors that we consider when we look at a business and we're doing our analysis, and any number of those factors impact either cash flow or risk. And we can, and as a matter of fact, if we have time, I thought we could go through a few of those, and I could just expound a bit on how those work and what you can do as a business owner to get top dollar for your business.
Go ahead and start, and we're going to take a break here in about a minute, so I may interrupt you, but go ahead and get started on it.
We'll come back to it.
Okay. One of the first things that we look for is a predictable and recurring revenue stream. That just shows that the business, if you can have consistent growth in your earnings, shows value there. Also, too, I will say that we've been noticing people are just now, we usually go back 5 years when we're looking at historical revenues and expenses, and people seem to, companies that have been impacted by the recession, they just seem to just now be getting to a point where they're back to pre-recession earnings. So we've sort of noticed that as a trend in a lot of businesses. But again, we look at a 5-year history of your earnings, and we would like to see consistent growth and predictable revenues stream going forward.
Okay, let me jump in here and get us to a break.
Okay.
Ann Gibson with Hogan Taylor is our guest. You're watching The Verdict, and we'll be right back.
The thing that has made the most sense for me is realizing that I am still an educator, and that is what I do at the Chickasaw Nation. I'm Dr. Amanda Cobb-Greetham. I'm a historian, and I'm Chickasaw. The Chickasaw Cultural Center is amazing. It is a very, very special place devoted to the sharing and to the celebration of Chickasaw history and culture. State-of-the-art technology, exhibits that are not like anything I've ever seen. The Spirit Forest is incredible, and you feel as if you have actually just walked into a forest with huge trees all around you. It's timeless, and yet it's sort of also representative of our time depth, to really just sort of reach through time and touch the past. By the end of the exhibits, you really have a sense of Chickasaw cultural and political resurgence and the extent to which we are a healthy, dynamic, and vital tribe today. Chickasaws have always been an inclusive people. This is something for the whole community and for the state of Oklahoma.
I don't want to hope for the best. I want to become it.
I want you to see my potential.
Because I can be more than average. I can be amazing.
Because I know the hard way
and the right way
are one and the same.
I will make you proud.
And surpass even my own expectations.
I will lead.
I will lead.
I will lead America's energy future.
Oklahoma's oil and natural gas industry. Proud to equip Oklahoma students for greatness.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and our guest, Ann Gibson, is going over business valuations and how those are determined.
Right, and we were talking about the various factors that we look at when we analyze a business that can help bring more value to the bottom line if you're trying to sell your business, and things that we look for when we do our analysis. We talked about the predictable revenue stream. The other thing too is to have a healthy gross profit margin. That tells a potential investor how efficiently you're using your resources, the labor, materials, etc. So as a business owner, I would suggest that you know your numbers and that you also know your industry's numbers. How do you compare to the industry and to your competitors? And make sure that your expense ratios, gross profit margins, inventory turns, all those ratios, that you're comparable to the market. So anything that you can do to improve those and get those up or competitive, those things will increase the value of your business. Another thing that we
May I interrupt just a minute?
Absolutely.
Do you do business valuations for publicly held companies as well as privately held, if asked?
Yes, but
and
let
do
me
they differ?
Yes, and let me just sort of tell you how that works. Publicly traded companies, generally the equity value is established by the market price, whatever the stock's selling for. So that generally establishes value. However, how we can help clients in those areas, for example, we had a client who died holding a large block of a local publicly traded company. Well, because the stock block was so large, there was no way that you could put it out to the market at one time. You had to dribble it out. We call it the dribble out effect. And so what we were able to do is say that that stock wasn't worth its market price because of the risk that you would be involved in extending the period of time in which you could sell the stock. So we have to look at trading volumes, volatility in the stock, and we were able, in this case, to save the estate money by determining that the stock really wasn't worth the stock price times the numbers of shares, but something less than that.
And you discount it, do you not, for the fact that you get it over time rather than up front?
That's part of the analysis, exactly. Also, too, we also value thinly traded companies, like companies that are...
Tell our viewers what you mean by thinly traded companies.
Those are companies whose
that are public,
but their stock does not trade on a regular basis. So they may go days without stock trades. So you can't really rely on those values as the price, because thinly traded stocks, similar to these large blocks, you can't put the stock to the market at any one point in time. Plus, you might also drastically impact what happens to the stock price if you tried to unload a large number of shares on the market at any one time. So again, we do value thinly traded stock for various reasons. We just recently got done doing a startup company that's publicly traded. They were wanting to award their management some stock. It was a startup company. It was publicly traded, but if you multiplied the stock price times the number of shares outstanding, it was obvious the company would have been way overvalued. It was a startup, a lot of risk. So we were able to go in, and luckily they had a current offer on the table to buy a big part of the company. So we were able to use that as part of our the foundation of our analysis to develop a more reasonable price for the stock, so that these employees, when they got them, didn't have to pay as much tax on the stock award. So again, those are other ways that we can be involved in publicly traded companies.
Okay, please go ahead. I interrupted your listing of some factors.
Okay, well, another factor is your customer base. If you have a diversified customer base, generally your company is going to be more valuable. You can understand if I'm an investor and I'm looking at you and you have one main customer, that's very risky.
They could leave anytime.
Is right. Go out of business, change loyalties. So a diversified customer base will add value to your company. So if you're someone who has, you rely on a small number of large customers, making an effort to diversify your customer base can help increase value.
Let me draw a picture here with the company here and the customer here, the large customer or the diverse base. Up here is the supplier that supplies the whatever is sold to the customer. Is it important that you not have a sole supplier, but you have alternative suppliers as well, so you have flexibility at both ends of the manufacturing and the selling?
Right, and where that really is important, I think you're right, having multiple vendors is just as important. you don't want to be in a monopoly situation whereby the cost of your materials is controlled by just one person, unless, of course, you're able to pass that cost on to the customer, the consumer.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you're locked into having one person supply your business, you know, you can be held captive. So again, adds risk to your business, and increased risk drives down the value of your business.
Okay. What else should we look for?
Another item that we look for in our analysis is discretionary expenses. We find this a lot, and that is there's this tension between wanting to have enough business expenses to decrease your net income for tax purposes and your cash flow. For cash flow purposes, when you sell your business, the bigger your cash flow, and that is generated from revenue less expenses, the better the value of your business will look. But a lot of times we find owners who have expenses in the business that might not be ordinary and necessary.
Trips
to
to Acapulco or
That's
the like.
correct, right? Yeah, tacking on a family vacation to a conference, or personal expenses. I mean, you wouldn't believe some of the things we see. But you know, if your wife's a stockholder and on the board, and you think that every meal out you discuss business, and so you deduct the cost of those meals in your tax return. So again, those are some of the things that we look for. We try to normalize those out. If we can get a feel for, and if the owner can help us represent, and they have to know, you know, we're not there to report them to the IRS. What we're trying to establish is what's the real economic value of your business, and what are the real ordinary necessary expenses to running that business. For example, other things that we find, like payroll. You know, how many family members do you have on the payroll, and what are they really doing for the business? Is that really value added? And if so, if not, then we try to normalize those transactions out. You know, take out payroll costs that aren't really applicable to the business. Again, trying to get that cash flow number up so that it makes the business more valuable.
How do you factor in the possible imminent transfer of the business from founder, first generation owner, to family members, sons, nephews, and the like, who do not have the goodwill built up, do not have the experience in the business, but nevertheless going to take over the business? How does that impact your valuations of it?
I mean, Kent, you read my mind, because that was the next factor that I was going to talk about.
Well, I should have kept quiet.
Yeah.
You'd have had
No,
more time to
that's
talk
great.
about
We got
it.
a little less than a minute left, by the way.
Okay, management depth, for example, is a very important factor that we consider. You know, if you have a good management team that's involved in the business, that's very important to succession and transition to a new owner. Whereas if you don't, if you have this one man running the show, that can create additional risks. So having a good management team in place, someone that you delegate responsibility to and let them help you run the business, that can increase the value of your business.
Ann Gibson is with the Tulsa office of Hogan Taylor, and I didn't get to all my questions, so you got to come back sometime.
Yeah, you got to have to come back.
That was it?
That's it.
That was
Time
it.
goes quickly out here. I know. Ken and I'll have a final word when we get back.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, Each child deserves all the quality, assistance, and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
I think for us, once we got started and we began to see the tremendous need just within our state, it really was just a calling for us. The blessings far outweigh any obstacles that we've faced.
You will always be Mom and Dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers. We learned a lot about accounting and business valuation, and we're going to have her back on because I had several questions I didn't get to.
Well, we are. Lou Ann does a great job for Hogan Taylor. We're very pleased to have Hogan Taylor join our group here on The Verdict. But Lou Ann is quite articulate. She testifies often, as is evident by her presentation today. And yeah, there are things we need to get her back on to talk about, maybe 90, 120 days from now. Have her back for round 2.
All right. Look forward to that. We have a couple of websites to let you have more information about. First of all, you can get more information about the services she was discussing at hogantaylor.com. That's hogantaylor.com. And then we have a website too, and I'd love you to go to our website and go there and log on. Tell us about a guest that you'd like to see, or perhaps a topic that you'd like to see discussed.
Yeah, we do look at it, what they say. We really do.
Absolutely. And you know, we have some guests on continually, it seems. You know, we have some guests that have been on 5, 10, 15 times. And we have some guests that are on for their very first time. We love that mix, but we'd love to have your input on a guest that you'd like to see on The Verdict. So go to theverdict.tv and give us your input. That's going to do it, though, for this show. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We're glad you joined us, and we will see you next week right here on The Verdict.
The preceding program was produced exclusively for the Cox Channel.